Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. For the first time all season, the New York Jets won a football game. They stunned the Cincinnati Bengals 39-38 in a game in which Aaron Glenn took some risks that paid off, leading to his first career head coach win. And in all, it was a happy ending to what is a really sad day. And we'll start with the somber part of it all. You know, the Jets' history is certainly not rich in terms of winning, in terms of superstars. There's been stars that have come through. They vary whether they were Jets their whole careers. Did they have some parts of their history that weren't great? You know, we've had great Jets like Curtis Martin and Kevin Mawai who, you know, weren't Jets their whole career. Didn't start as Jets. Joe Namath is Joe Namath, the only Super Bowl, an interesting history, and who has been a great advocate for the Jets over the last 20 years as he's turned into a really lovable character. But I don't think there's ever been a Jet like Nick Mangold. And I don't normally wear jerseys on these recaps, even though every game I go to at MetLife Stadium, and I've been to in the last 15 years, I wear this number 74 jersey because Nick Mangold is my favorite Jet of all time. And he'll forever be associated with those great runs in 2009 and 2010. He is a part of one of the greatest first rounds any team has ever had in the draft, drafting DeBrickashaw Ferguson and him in the same first round in 2006. He was a 3-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, All-Rookie team, had a prolific college career as well, winning a national championship and being an All-American. But Nick Mangold was a lot more than that. You know, he was a true Jet who loved being a part of this team. And even when this team has been bad, and they've been bad, you know, basically since he left in 2016, no playoff appearances since his great run with that team in 2010, no winning season since his last really full year, which was 2015 with Fitzpatrick. That was the last time they had a winning season, but he's always been around. His family and his kids and his wife live right by the facility in Florham Park. He is an ambassador for this team and always has been. And he started his career and ended his career as a Jet. I'm so grateful that he was able to have his name hung at MetLife Stadium and be part of the Ring of Honor before he passed away. And the news was really sad this morning. And you know, this Jets season's been hard and it's been frustrating, and, you know, the Jets fan has been through a lot, but nothing like a little bit of perspective to hit you over the face when you see a young man pass away. And it was only a week ago or so that we learned that he has been, you know, suffering through a kidney disorder his entire life. And it's really heartbreaking to think that when they made those social media posts a week ago, where they're looking anywhere for a kidney donor for him, just how dire that was. Clearly, that was a last chance to try to find someone to save his life. And it's really sad that just a week later, we learned that he's gone. And it made viewing this game different. You know, all the yelling we do about the Jets, and you know, this is a part of life. Athletes we love pass away, but normally not ones that are retired so recently and that are still such a part of the team. And doesn't make it any less sad when older players pass away, but it really hits you hard when it's someone like Nick Mangold. He was a guy that was across the board loved, and to be a pro athlete in New York City and have nothing bad ever come out about you, even when you're a big personality and a big lovable guy like Nick Mangold. He's been in the New York City sports world since 2006. And you can't find someone to say a bad word about him. And, you know, DeBrickashaw Ferguson is a legend in his own right. He was a much quieter guy. Nick Mangold was the face of this team, and it's hard to be the face of a team as a center. But he was that great of a football player and that great of a guy, and fans adore him. And Twitter was a mess before this game, and it really made me sad to think that his life was cut so short. But if you also think about the perspective of this is someone who's lived his whole life with this disorder, and I'm sure thought that maybe one day this would happen. And it makes me a little happy that he lived his life the way he did. And he lived like a person who knew that life was fragile and every day isn't a given. And to know that he was such a lovable man and a funny guy and someone who just took in the world around him at all times. That's a really beautiful thing, and he is certainly being celebrated. And not that, football and all that is the end-all be-all, but it is a shame that he did not make it forward to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame while he was still with us. I bet he loved being there for his ceremony at MetLife Stadium, though, which I'm glad I was able to be at as well, when they put him in the Ring of Honor. And I think he's got a really good chance to end up being a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He was a nominee this year, but did not advance to the next stages. But this year now has a sense of being able to celebrate him, and the Jets have a bye coming up, and they'll play the Browns at MetLife Stadium, and you're going to see a lot of 74 jerseys out there. It's going to be an emotional beginning of the game. And, no one in that locker room today played with Nick Mangold. Even Aaron Glenn didn't play with Nick Mangold. But every single guy on that team knows him because he's always around and he's always in that facility. And he's someone that just seems like was a net positive in any situation when he was there. And it's hard not to think that a little bit of that today was for him. And you felt the joy in that locker room, and then you also felt the sadness. And it's a weird thing when you mesh such a, in football terms, disappointing and awful year, but then you mesh it with a truly awful thing, something that actually matters, which is someone's life coming to an end in the way Nick Mangold's did. But I loved Nick Mangold. I think Jets fans across the board are happy that they won today, and it took away the tanking conversation and all the other silly things we get into as a fan of a bad sports team, and let everyone really enjoy what was an amazing win. So before we talk about how the Jets pulled off the victory today, just want to say how sad I am that Nick Mangold is gone, but I appreciate all the joy he gave Jets fans. And it's good to know that he felt that joy too, and he felt that love from Jets fans, because you'd hate it to be something where he didn't have an opportunity to be embraced after his career is over. So at least he got that. So we're all thinking about the Mangold family, and I'm sure they felt a lot of love in what is a really, really sad day. And in a transition that's hard to make, there was a football game today after the news broke, about an hour and a half before kickoff today, and the game started, and you thought it was going to be kind of the same old Jets performance. Joe Flacco is throwing the ball all over the place. T. Higgins has a long touchdown. Jamar Chase is finding his opportunities everywhere all over the field. No Sauce Gardner, no Garrett Wilson, and it just seemed like it was going to be a game where, although the offense was playing well against a really bad Bengals team, it just wasn't going to be enough, and one side of the ball wasn't going to step up. And listen, the Jets still gave up 38 points in this game, and when they brought it to a one score multiple times, the defense gave it back up. But to Steve Wilkes' credit and Aaron Glenn's credit and that defense's credit, without their best cornerback out there, they found a way to win a game. Jarvis Brownlee has a really nice game again and has a great pass breakup to end things, and he's looking like a steal. And it's good to see him on Twitter after the game saying, thank God that I'm a Jet, and that's really cool. And the energy going into the bye, and although it was going to be, the feeling was going to change because of the passing of Nick Mangold no matter what, to take this game and to win this game the way they did, to come all the way back by 2 scores, to take a huge risk that Aaron Glenn took in a very Dan Campbell type move, and when you're down 2 scores, you score the touchdown, so you're down by 8, and you decide to go for 2, which is what all the analytics tell you to do, but man, I don't remember a time it ever working. And through a miracle catch and an amazing play on a broken play by Justin Fields, they get that 2-point conversion. So when you get to the end of the game, and a la Curtis Martin to Wayne Corbett, Breece Hall throws a halfback pass to Mason Taylor, throws a jump ball to him, and Mason Taylor brings it down for his first career touchdown reception. And then the extra point gives you the lead. And although Joe Flacco left the field because he was hurt, and then we saw him come back out, and obviously he wasn't 100% in that second half, you were thinking, oh, here we go again. Just like Tampa, there's almost 2 minutes left, plenty of timeouts. This is not going to go well. But to that defense's credit, they made a stop. So Aaron Glenn gets to go into this bye week with very positive vibes from the team. And man, if they go 0-9 and they lose the way it looked like they were going to lose again today, and they have to stew in being winless and stew in that for 2 weeks before you have to go get booed at MetLife Stadium again, that's where things can get really, really toxic. And even if they do end up trading Breece Hall before they play their next game, and I think that's very likely, Breece Hall gets to have his moment, finally scores a touchdown, and has a huge game today on the ground, catching the ball, and even throws a touchdown pass. The defense makes their mark when it mattered most at the very end of the game, even though they had a rough time containing this Bengals team. And I think most importantly, and someone you got to give a lot of credit to, Justin Fields played a really good game. And Justin Fields does not have his top two receivers. He's got a guy in Arian Smith who makes one really nice catch, but other than that is hard to find and is whiffing on blocks. He's got to work it through Mason Taylor, and Tyler Johnson has a big touchdown catch, and Isaiah Davis is looking good catching the ball and has an explosive on the run game as well. Isaiah Williams has 3 catches. These are not the guys you expect to be making plays in the passing game. But Justin Fields was running all over the field. They designed a lot of runs for him. He found Breece Hall when he needed to. He rushes for 133, but Justin Fields had 31 yards rushing, but his feet were a weapon when things are breaking down. And you look at his numbers, 21 of 32, 244, and a touchdown. It's not the most remarkable game, but you know what? It was enough to win today. And Justin Fields, if he had a bad day today or if he wanted to quit, although it's not what you expect from a professional athlete, it'd be hard to blame him because Woody Johnson did a very Woody Johnson thing and put his foot in his mouth and does what he always does, which is make things worse. He then comes out a couple days later and tells Diana Rossini, yeah, I'm a bad owner. Yeah, we know. And I don't want any credit to go to Woody Johnson. This wasn't Woody Johnson sparking some fire underneath the guy. I think, if anything, they rallied around their quarterback and said, hey, we're not letting an owner talk to you like that. And they all elevated their game. The offensive line played really well today. It was a really strong performance, and Justin Fields deserved a lot of credit. And as you head into this bye and you think, okay, what's the best case scenario for this team? And I don't want to get too into tanking. We'll talk more about it in the bye week. Tanking is stupid. If tanking worked, every team would do it. Only 3 times in the history of the NFL has a team with the first overall pick drafted a quarterback and won a Super Bowl with that player. 3 times in the history of the NFL. Since the year 2000, there's been 6 first-round picks that have won Super Bowls. Only one was a top 5 pick, and that was Eli Manning. And none of them were drafted by the team that had the first overall pick, because Eli was drafted by the Chargers, obviously, and then was traded to the Giants. Tanking doesn't work. What you do want to see is who on this team has any value. I think you're seeing a glimmer of some guys on the defensive end. And you don't trade away Quinnen Williams. You don't trade away Garrett Wilson, obviously. It'd be ridiculous to trade Garrett Wilson. You have an offensive line that you can build around. If you trade Quincy Williams, I understand. Quincy Williams was great today, and they missed him in the passing game. Jamien Sherwood gets benched, looks like, to start the game, but he ends up in there at the end and makes some good plays in pass defense when that's really been a problem for him. But Quincy Williams is probably going to trade because I don't think you're going to give him that kind of money, which is fine. But Brownlee looks like a real piece, although Malachi Moore had a tough moment today. He's been better than Tony Adams has been. You know, there's Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, like there's pieces here. So what I want to see is this defense keep playing well. And Justin Fields is not going to be the guy. He would have to put up some insane numbers to end this year to make you think like he's worthy of being your quarterback next year. And frankly, the way Woody Johnson talked about him, he'd probably request a trade if he's playing well, before, being given the starting job next year. But what he could be is a decent backup for a rookie quarterback next season. There's ways to make this work, and they have the weakest strength of schedule in the league. So if they end up tied for the worst record, they're going to have the first pick. But there's no home run guy in college this year. Everyone thought it'd be Arch Manning. Arch Manning's not coming out this year. He's not going to come out to be a 5th-round pick. And Mendoza looks good at Indiana. And there's guys, Alabama's quarterback looks fine. But to say, hey, just totally tank and ruin the energy of this team and make this a place that no one wants to go to because it's a complete dumpster fire is not smart. This team is going to lose games without having to try to lose games, and that's okay. And there's a lot of teams with only 1 win or 2 wins. There's a lot of bad football this season. I just want to see the Jets be a functioning football team. And if you want to root for Aaron Glenn to have another shot and not be a team that has to fire a one-and-done head coach, then you need to see them keep fighting and not giving up. And so far, they have not given up on Aaron Glenn, although in moments it's looked really tough. And if you go out and fall on your face against the Browns, then maybe today was just an emotional day and you're playing an awful defense that the Bengals have, and you willed yourself to one victory. But I'd rather see this team keep playing like this, to be a team where a free agent can say, hey, I want to be part of a team that's not in full rebuild but is about to take the next step. And that doesn't happen if you totally give up on this year and you're terrible the rest of the way. I'm also happy that Justin Fields played well, so I don't have to hear about Brady Cook. And Brady Cook is not an NFL-ready player. The fact that he's a snap away from playing should scare you. He is a prospect. And maybe over time he will turn to a nice backup quarterback. But all bringing Brady Cook in right now with no offensive players whatsoever to throw to is maybe ruin his development forever and ruin his career. So I'm glad Justin Fields played well for him, because good on Justin Fields for everything was thrown at him and the way his owner talked about him. And Aaron Glenn gets put in a tough spot where he has to play him because Tyrod Taylor's hurt. Now for the next 2 weeks, it's going to be about how Justin Fields rose to the occasion and was a professional and played really well. And I think that's amazing. And I'm happy for Justin Fields, although he's certainly not the answer to this team. And I've been really frustrated with how he's played this year. And I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league. Good for him today. Good for him for making some noise, playing to the top of his game, taking advantage of a bad defense with no pass rush. And the Jets won a football game. And when it's all said and done, as fans of these teams, just win. Just put out a product you can be proud of. That was Aaron Glenn's whole thing. Today, you could be proud of the Jets. And that's what you want to think every week. Was I proud of this team today? And if over the next 9 games, more times than not, you're saying no, then what kind of player of any caliber would come to this team because of that? There's only so much money with a salary cap. And if you're a dumpster fire with a terrible owner and a head coach who looks lost and a GM who's basically just a puppet for the head coach, who outside of trades, his draft picks are really questionable, especially in the middle rounds, and you have an offensive coordinator who's getting yelled at on the sideline, this could all be terrible. And then you're saying, can this team rebound from this and go from a 2-win team to a 9-win team next year? No, that'd be really hard to do. Build a foundation that you can work from. Let's see if Aaron Glenn can save the season in a way that makes him worthy of another year. Let's give Muji another year to make trades and signings and see how that looks. But all in all, just don't be an embarrassment. Don't be an embarrassment for the rest of the season, and give fans something to root for and some reason to stay interested and give you some hope, because when you're about to finish your 15th straight season without making the playoffs, all you're looking for is hope. So once again, rest in peace to Nick Mangold. A really sad day in Jet land, but they find a way to have a silver lining on a really sad day by beating the Bengals and Joe Flacco 39-38. Bye week coming up. We will have some episodes up. Should have a couple of guests that I'm looking forward to bringing back on just to navigate what's going on in the NFL right now as the Jets got to take a week off. And if you're listening to this also, but you don't listen to Simon Says Sports, please go ahead to our partner podcast at Simon Says Sports with Allan Simon, where I'm talking about the Red Hot Devils and the Yankees and the Knicks' promising season. I'm talking about the Islanders and Rangers, all the things that are going on in New York sports that don't have to do with the Jets. So go over there, Simon Says Sports with Allan Simon. So once again, rest in peace to Nick Mangold, and all the best to his family and to his friends and to everyone mourning in Jets Nation. A very sad day, but a nice win for the Jets to at least give some happiness on a somber Sunday. This has been episode 26 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. Thank you for listening.